Well, hi, and welcome to the second half of this semester. It'll be chapters 9 through 16. I hope that the first half of the semester has treated you well and that all of the work has completed and has been turned in and you have received a satisfactory grade. That is how we remove what this chapter is about, and that part of removing is called stress. And chapter 9 is about stress. Of all of the chapters in this text, I feel as though this is my own personal feeling that stress is important. The study of stress, the understanding of stress is important to all of us. Okay, basically, we're going to go through some overview of stress because the entire chapter is about stress and the various physical, not only symptoms, but actually the physical concerns that individuals can develop from a result of being stressed. All right, let's go down through this now. What is stress? Well, stress basically is unusual demands by the environment. And we're going to stop there, just leading to physical disorders, of course. We're going to stop there and look at unusual demands. What we are designed for through the evolutionary process is we are designed for a shot of stress, getting the sympathetic system revved up into a fight or flight mode, and then having the parasympathetic system kick in and reduce the demands of the sympathetic system, which again was flight or fight, and to return us back to a relaxed state. Basically, then an individual would go out and they would see a dragon and they would become stressed, and the sympathetic system would kick in and they would slay the dragon, and then the parasympathetic system would kick in and calm them down. That is the way it is supposed to work. So if we take this viewpoint, stress has some very positive attributes. What is happening in our society, what is happening in our culture, is that we are continually being stressed. And I've mentioned this here, and I'll be answering some of these questions probably before I get to them. We are stressed. You think about this. How many days go by when you do not experience stress? All right, we're going to start with one. And individuals almost make a game out of this. They tell you their problems. They want you to accept their problems. They want to take their problems and put their problems on another person's back and have another person carry those problems for them. It's called putting a monkey on a person's back. These monkeys, after a while, they may not seem that heavy as a monkey, but they turn into a gorilla. Now, I do not want to be misunderstood. I feel as though we should support one another. I feel as though that we should be good listeners. I feel as though we should be able to, if necessary, give advice and develop a focus, even though it may be turning the situation around and saying, okay, this is your concern. How are you going to solve it? But I do believe that we should support one another. What I do not believe is that we should accept a lot of monkeys turning into a gorilla and weighting self down to the point where we will be of no value to another person or to ourselves. So basically, I'm going to go down through this. We have type A and type B behavior. Type A behavior is go get her, go get her, go get her. Heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up, breathing goes up, and they're at risk for a heart attack. Now, what is interesting, the type B individual then is somewhat laid back and relaxed. Now, I have read where type A individuals, when they do have a heart attack, and a type B individual can also have a heart attack, that the type A individual has a better chance of survival because they're focused in on what it takes in order to live their life to reduce the possibility of a heart attack. Okay, so what is it? We've kind of talked about what it is. It's an unusual demand. Who has it? I have to say, and I might be wrong, and arguably I'm going to say this anyway, that I believe, for the most part, and these are some of the questions that I've asked individuals, and they discussed this with me, for the most part, on a daily basis, we experience some type of stress. Now, in dealing with behaviors, in dealing with psychology, we have to remember that many of these disorders, not that stress is a disorder, but many of these disorders, many of these symptoms that we have related to stress and so forth are one of a degree from little to a whole big bunch. All right, we're going to visit about that a little bit later on. So it's an unusual demand. Who has it? I would have to say, if you want to correct me, I'm wrong, that's okay. Go ahead and correct me. How often do we have it? On a daily basis, and certainly we know that society does contribute to it. Okay, we have lack of control. We've talked about that, something in our environment that has lack of control, and I think the difference comes from anxiety and fear. I remember when I was in third grade, my mother would take me to see a movie, and I was supposed to walk home. Well, when I would be taken to see the movie, it was light. But when I had to go home, I had to go cover 4 blocks with no street lights and very few porch lights. And there was a kennel about midway in between where they raised Cocker Spaniel dogs. So I was a third grader. I had anxiety, anticipation of the event until I got to those 4 blocks. And when I got to those 4 blocks, and it was dark. Oh, it was dark. I still remember that. I still remember looking down those 4 blocks and how dark they were. Very few porch lights, no street light. And so I would get in the middle of the street, and I would run as quickly as I could for those 4 blocks. Now, when I would get to the end of the 4 blocks, I could turn to my left, and the next block over was a street light. So I felt as though I was safe then. So I had anxiety going up to that point of running down those 4 blocks that were dark. And then while I was running down, I had a fear. And like I say, when I ran past that kennel of Cocker Spaniels and they would bark, that fear was intensified. Cocker Spaniels are wonderful puppies, but to this day, I still do not really care for Cocker Spaniels. Okay, but they're nice pups, and I understand all of that, and I will pet. Okay, now what we have here, then we can damage both our hippocampus and our amygdala, which are 2 strong components for memory. As a matter of fact, what the hippocampus does, it helps us remember factual material. The amygdala helps us remember emotional material. If the amygdala, we have 2 amygdala, 1 in each hemisphere, if they are destroyed or if they are damaged, there's a good possibility that we don't know fear. This has been proven in individuals. We have also the blood-brain barrier, which I'm going to mention. And this is unique because what this does, this is a barrier almost like a screen, uh, like on a screen door. You know, it let the air through, but flies cannot come through and this type of thing. And in the blood-brain barrier, we have a very similar type of mechanism. And when they inject the overall circulatory system with blue dye, all of the organs and so forth will turn blue except the brain and the spinal column. And that is because we have the blood-brain barrier, and it keeps out this dye because this dye is not wanted. All right, then if it's reversed and you put blue dye into the brain and the spinal column, again, the blood-brain barrier will keep the dye from going to the rest of the body. That's the blood-brain barrier. Stress is this. Stress is this. It's the way we look at life. It's our perspective. And I believe that it is a cognitive, we're thinking about it, function. And if we have stress, I definitely feel as though it may be necessary to reframe the way we think and look at life in one of two ways. Either life is a threat or a challenge. Okay, I hope that this will work for you. Keep up the good work, and we will see you on video 10. Until then, have a good day.